Iranian President Hassan Rouhani spoke to a crowd in Tehran today to mark the 40th anniversary of his country's revolution. He said that Iran's missile program would continue to expand despite Western objections. This speech is courtesy of Press TV, Iran's English-language news channel.
In the name of God, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate, salutations to the Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, blessings of God upon him and his pure household.
اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك.
Salutations to Hazrat Fatima, peace upon her.
بزرگ را حمد و سپاس میگوییم.
I thank God Almighty for guiding the Iranian nation and assisting the Iranian nation in order to overcome dictatorship and dependencies. And this nation managed to create the Islamic Republic establishment in this country. This year's 22nd of Bahman rallies have their own features and characteristics. On the one hand, it coincides with the 40th victory anniversary of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, and also the great nation of Iran today has entered the 41st year of the victory of the Islamic Revolution. In the meantime, and on the other hand, this year's victory anniversary also coincides with the martyrdom anniversary of Hazrat Fatima, peace upon her, and due to her teachings and precepts, the Iranian nation managed to resist the superpowers and attain victory. Meanwhile, this year, we are holding the 22nd of Bahman celebrations at a time when we face conspiracies by the criminal U.S. and the Zionist regime and the reactionary regimes in the region, and they have imposed sanctions upon us, putting pressure on our nation. Therefore, today, people's turnout across the country is indicative of the fact that the one-year schemes of the enemy have been foiled. Such a massive turnout by the people indicates that the enemy will never be able to attain its ominous goals. So we are going to continue treading this path that we chose 40 years ago. At the beginning, I wish to elaborate on a few points while addressing the Iranian nation. Firstly, our Islamic revolution seeks to protect Islamic Iran, and that's been the aim of the revolution. Our people know very well that 205 years ago, a major parts of the northern areas of the country and the Caucasus at the time of the treacherous Qajarid kings. These parts were separated from the country at that time, and 191 years ago, another part of the our northern territories were separated from the motherland. 172 years ago, a major part of Iran's northwest was separated from Iran. 163 years ago, an important part of the country's east was separated, and 138 years ago, a part of the country's northeast was separated from the motherland. And 100 years ago, a major part of the country's south was separated, and that area constitutes several countries today in the southern part of the Persian Gulf. And even 47 years ago, 7 years prior to the triumph of the Islamic Revolution at the time of the treacherous Pahlavi regime, an important part of the country's south was separated, that was considered as the 14th, geographically speaking, it was considered as the 14th province of Iran. So it was separated from Iran by the Pahlavi regime. So you see that during the several decades at the time of the Qajarid and Pahlavi kings, 2/3 of Iran was separated from the country. So this means that the past regimes, in addition to affecting the people's culture, welfare, religion, there have been traitors concerning people's culture, religion, and welfare. And at the same time, there were traitors considering the country's territorial integrity. Many people can remember that 100 years ago, and if they have studied history, they can remember that at the time of World War I, they can remember how Iran's northwest and south were occupied by three powers, and 77 years ago, at the time of the first Pahlavi, at the time of World War II, despite Iran's impartiality, the country was divided into north and south, and the forces, the Allied forces, dominated the country, and they ordered the Shah to leave the country, and he accepted all the conditions set by the Allied forces, provided that his son would be appointed as Iran's Shah. So this has been a clear act of treason by the kings and those who were in power. So that was an act of treason towards the Iranian nation. But 37 years ago, at the time when the global powers instigated Saddam and provided him with weaponry, and the reactionary regimes of the region provided him with money and also with forces provided by other countries. They instigated him to attack Iran, and they had promised him that he'll be able to topple the government of Iran within a week, and after 3 days he would be in Ahvaz, and 7 days he would be conducting an interview in Tehran. The great nation of Iran and its courageous sons from the Basij force, the army, and IRGC, they resisted for 8 years, and they attained, and the Iranian nation managed to attain major victories that were registered in history, and they crushed the siege laid on Abadan, and based on Imam's order, they liberated Khorramshahr, and in the course of Fath al-Mubin operation, the people managed to liberate major regions in the west, and other operations such as Karbala 5, Al-Fajr 8, and other operations, they managed to crush the enemy, and they told the whole world that today it's not the monarchical Iran. Today it's the Islamic Iran, and the Iranian youths, based on their religious and national obligations, they will resist in the face of the whole world, and the West and the East provided the Iraq with the most modern aircraft, and they provided him with the most modern helicopters and artillery systems, but eventually all their mercenaries suffered a defeat, and our courageous combatants carried the flag of victory, and they returned to their homes from the battlefronts. Today, the whole world should know that the Islamic Republic of Iran's power is much greater compared to the days of the imposed war, and today our armed forces are capable in manufacturing ammunitions. And if at the time of the previous regime only 5% of ammunitions were manufactured inside the country, and today 85% of military equipment and ammunitions and the country's needs are being manufactured domestically, and in order to manufacture different anti-armor missiles and air defense missiles and different types of land-to-sea and sea-to-sea missiles, different types of air-to-air missiles, and also different types of land-to-land missiles. In order to manufacture these missiles, we have not asked the permission of anybody, and we will not ask for anyone's permission. So we will continue increasing our military power, and I am clearly telling the Iranian nation today that Iran's military might in the past 40 years, and particularly in the past 5 years, has been quite astonishing for the whole world. and that includes our defensive and military industries, our missiles, our fighter jets, our helicopters, and also our submarines, frigates, destroyers, our personnel carriers, our rifles, and whatever needed by our armed forces. And also, regardless of our ammunitions, I can refer to the bravery and courage of our armed forces, their prudence. So, in the past 40 years, and particularly in the past 5 years, the whole world has witnessed that when we decided to help the Iraqi people, when we decided to help the people of Syria, when we decided to help the people of Lebanon and to help the people of Palestine and Yemen, the whole world witnessed that. Speaking of Iran's support and the power of regional nations, actually, the world powers have to admit to their 20 years of defeat in the region, and they have no option but to gradually leave this region so that the regional nations would be able to continue their path with freedom. The first achievement of the Islamic Revolution has been territorial integrity, protection of our homeland, Iran, and not an iota of this land has been given to, not even an iota of this land has been given to the enemies, and we have protected our territorial integrity. The second achievement of the revolution that we are proud of is the changing of the legitimacy establishment in this country. That means that in the past there was it was based on one's ethnicity and tribe, so that he would be able to become a king, and in this way his son would become a king again. So this is not democratic, this is not rational, and so the achievement of the Islamic Republic was to place the establishment of legitimacy upon Islam and having a republic nature. So today all the officials of the Islamic Republic, including the leader of the Islamic Revolution and the president and the MPs, the members of the Assembly of Experts and the members of councils, they are all chosen through people's votes and through the ballot boxes. In fact, they shoulder their responsibility through this way. We should all be cautious. If we have managed to emerge victorious in the face of the conspiracies in the past 40 years, that's been due to the republic nature of the establishment and Islam. So, to be Islamic and to have a republic system that's have protected us, and people's faith, people's trust, people's culture of martyrdom and dedication and self-sacrifice. And these have been major achievements of the revolution and the years of the sacred defense. The power that we have and the enemy does not have is faith in God, to rely upon God, and we know that even if we become victorious, even if we are killed in the battlefronts, we are still victorious. This is our belief, and such a belief has protected us during the years of the imposed war. And today you see millions of people go on pilgrimage to the holy shrine of the 8th Imam, and millions of people go barefoot to pay a pilgrimage to the holy shrine of Imam Hussein, peace upon him. And also the 15th of Sha'ban, the month of Ramadan, and all the occasions that are religious. Every year people have a more massive participation, a more glorious participation on such occasions. So in fact, we were after promoting virtues, and we have been after promoting moralities and ethical values. This is the spirituality that forms the basis of our revolution and our might and power. In the absence of faith, in the absence of the Islamic nature, if it was not an Islamic revolution, if it was a national revolution, in such a case, the revolution could not resist the conspiracies. So it's the Islamic nature that has managed to protect us in the face of dangers and threats. And in the meantime, we have the ballot boxes. What has actually contributed to our people's motivation despite the pressures, and has motivated the people to continue to to go after their ideals, is their turnout at the ballot boxes, and they make a selection. And these ballot boxes guarantee this establishment. In case of demanding any change, that should be done at the ballot boxes, and through the ballot boxes you'll be able to reflect your views, and you declare your approach in the course of election campaigns, and you choose your representatives at the Assembly of Experts in the Parliament, and you choose the president, and so on. So we should be aware of this, that the holding elections and the ballot boxes, these are one of the major blessings of the Islamic Republic of Iran. In the absence of the ballot boxes, and in the absence of the long queues at the ballot boxes, the enemy could hatch various plots against us. Today, there is a real democracy in our society. There is a real popular rule. There are free factions, and this is not a regime to tell that there should be only one faction, and if you're not a member of that Rastakhi's faction, you should get a passport and leave the country. So the journals, magazines, the dailies, the press are free in this country, and all the officials, including the supervisory officials, the executive officials, they should have patience in dealing with the elections. As we increase our patience, we'll be able to open the way for the presence of all political factions and orientations, and this will further consolidate our establishment. In the recent election law, comprehensive law of elections that's been presented to the Islamic Consultative Assembly by the government, these points have been taken into consideration, and hopefully with the approval of this law at the Islamic Consultative Assembly, we'll be able to witness further participation by the people. The third achievement of this revolution has been this nation's progress, and the blossoming of different economic and cultural sectors, also promoting social welfare. In the early days of the revolution, the population of the country stood at 36 million, and today the population has reached 82 million people. This means that there has been 2.28 fold increase in the population of the country. So a little bit more than 2.5-fold increase. So in such a case, there should be more productivity, and our working efforts must have been doubled. But if you look at these statistics, you see that these figures are much higher. Prior to the revolution, despite the many ups and downs, and despite the presence of American specialists and regretfully Israeli experts were present here for agricultural activities, and in the last year of the Shah's regime, all the agricultural products reached 26 million tons, and today that figure has reached 122 million tons. This means that more than there's been more than five-fold increase with respect to our agricultural products. And in order, the people should know that there's been an accelerating trend in country's progress. So in the past 5 years, our agricultural products has exceeded the previous regime. So there has been in the past 5 years, there's been 25 million tons of increase in the amount of our agricultural products. So our farmers and our engineers and those active in the agriculture sector have made a major breakthrough. Our wheat, the yield of wheat was 4 million tons, and today that figure has reached close to 14 million tons. So there has been more than threefold increase in the products related to wheat, bread. And speaking of our agricultural exports compared to the previous regime, there's been a 20-fold increase. And prior to the revolution, it was $285 million, and today that figure has reached $5.7 billion. So today we have more than $5 billion of agricultural exports. At the time of the previous regime, it was less than $300 million. Therefore, we have chosen the right path. Now, speaking of the modern irrigation systems, in the previous regime, it was 38,000 hectares, and today it is 2.5 million hectares that are covered by modern irrigation systems. So there's been almost six-fold increase. So if you look at these agricultural figures, you'll realize that in the past 40 years, our nation has made major progress. Today, in the industrial sector, if you compare it to the past 40 years ago, all our industrial enterprises the number of our industrial enterprises today has reached 85,000. So our steel products in the past was less than 400,000 tons, and today that figure has reached more than 20 million tons. So these figures are not even comparable with 10 years ago. This means, and this indicates that our nation is treading the path of construction and progress. I wish to draw your attention to this figure. At the time of the Shah's regime, the people could use 110 million tons of natural gas, and today it has reached 1,000 million tons. This means that our laborers and engineers are making great deal of efforts in the oil and gas sector, and our reserves today is 160 billion barrels, so it's a twofold increase. This means that that's due to explorations done by our engineers, and there are no American or British experts today in the country. We have managed to become self-sufficient, and we are running the country ourselves. If you consider the population undercovered, the whole world will be astonished. The population covered by gas prior to the revolution was 51,000. It was 51,000 households, and today it's approximately close to 22 million households. They are using natural gas today. So we had 6 petrochemical complexes at the time of the previous regime, and today we have 52 petrochemical complexes today. In the previous regime, our petrochemical products was 1.2 million tons, and today the figure has reached 30.7 million tons. We are witnessing the country's progress in different fields. That includes water, electricity, road construction, railway system, and ports. There is no sufficient time now. You can ask relevant authorities and officials and learn these figures from them. We had 19 dams, national dams, at the time of the previous regime. Today, we have 172 dams. This indicates that there has been a major increase in the number of dams in this country. There was 7,000 megawatts of electricity, and today is 80,000 megawatts of electricity that has been generated. We stood in the 38th place in the world at the time of the previous regime that spoke of the gateways of civilization. Today we stand in the 14th place, and we stand in the 1st place at the regional level. This indicates the breakthroughs we had experienced. And also, speaking of our port capacities, it was 19 million tons in the past. Today it's 234 million tons. This is indicative of our progress, and this is indicative, and today we can transfer 25 million passengers via the railway system. The point I wish to emphasize is that regarding 3 issues, the enemies even have no doubt regarding our progress, regarding science, regarding health, and regarding social welfare and social justice. Undoubtedly, regarding these 3 subjects, today we have a very high status. The illiteracy rate and also our number of our students prior to the revolution, after the revolution. Today we have 14.5 million students and more than 4 million academic students, university students today. But there was only 175,000 students at the time of the previous regime, and today it exceeds the figure of 4 million. We have made considerable progress in the field of science, and today we have skilled, educated individuals in the country. This is admitted by the whole world that we have made major breakthroughs. Secondly, regarding health and treatment and medical care, there were 14,700 physicians operating in this country at the time of the previous regime. 6,000 of, they said, there were 6,000 foreign doctors and physicians. Today we have 140,000 physicians in the country, and even we have physicians in different parts of the country and specialist physicians, and 18,000 health centers have been set up in rural areas, and all world countries admit to our progress in the field of health and medical care. In the past 40 years, there has been 10 years increase in life expectancy in world countries, but in Iran, there has been 20 years an increase in the rate of life expectancy. This indicates for the development of the country more than what the whole world can perceive and consider. And the other point is helping the oppressed and helping the underprivileged and promoting social welfare and social justice. All people are covered by medical insurance, and in the past few years, 10 million people have been covered by medical insurance. And all the underprivileged that are covered by the welfare organization and the Imam Relief Committee, their pensions have increased by fourfold, and we have managed to promote social welfare. Let me draw your attention to these figures. There was a 35-fold difference, and today there is a 15-fold difference between the rich people and the underprivileged today. So we should take more steps in line with this. In this establishment and revolution, we have become self-sufficient in wheat production, and this year is the 4th year that we have become self-sufficient with regard to wheat production. In the field of gasoline and petrol, we became self-sufficient, and we are self-sufficient for production of petrol, gasoline, and natural gas. So 95% of our needed medicines and drugs are produced domestically. Also, we have made progress in the nuclear field, nanotechnology, stem cell, and modern technologies. We stand in the 11th, 14th, and 7th places, and we are a country that has we have a very good status of progress in modern technologies, and also we have carried out many strategic measures in the past 40 years, and in recent years it has been indicated that we have managed to emerge victorious in different arenas. Iran is the only country that has exited from Chapter 7 of the UN without bowing to the enemies. And this is the power of our diplomacy. And we are the only country whose nuclear rights has been recognized at the UN. We have taken major steps forward in the field of environment, and in the absence of such measures, we would have faced a catastrophe. And if the Oromia Lake was not revived, there were 14 million people who had become homeless. And in this way, our agriculture and industries would have been disrupted. If we didn't have the major JUST project, we want to have the exports at Khark and JUST. This is a major strategic project that hopefully will be implemented till the end of this administration. Iran's role in the region is more influential compared to the past, and it's unprecedented in the course of history. Iran is the only country that can help the nations of the region if they want security. I mean, without Iran, no plan or project can be implemented in this region. The global arrogance, the Americans, the Zionists must know that victory belongs to our nation. Regarding the rights of women, the youths, the minorities, the Sunnis, and different ethnic groups, we will continue to protect their rights. And one of our mottos has been the rights of citizenship. And today, 1,825 Sunnis hold different positions, including governor, deputy governor general, and district governor, and members of councils, and so on. And we have 2 Sunni ambassadors today. This is indicative of our growing unity and solidarity. And Islam and the revolution has granted a high status to our women, and today women are present in different positions and managerial positions. We will continue transparency in order to combat corruption. We support the underprivileged. We will continue supporting them. We will continue constructive interaction with the world and will promote Iran's status. We will improve the business environment. We will privatize state enterprises, and the people will soon receive services from electronic government. The water and environment crises will be controlled, and financial institutions, including the banking system, will be adjusted, as we did concerning the unauthorized credit institutions. We have managed to close their dossier, and they were eliminated. This is the path that we are going to continue. And the last point I wish to mention is that today we are facing an economic and psychological operation and warfare. We are facing brutal enemies, and they are behaving with the people with brutality. We should resolve these problems together. Every time we became victorious, that was due to the government and the people supporting the leader. And if we manage to eliminate assassination and terror, and if we manage to eliminate the riots that's been due to the people's support and supporting the Imam, and regarding sanctions, through steadfastness, through cooperation and collaboration, we'll emerge victorious in the face of the U.S. We will not allow the U.S. to become victorious. The U.S. announced last year that I will crush Iran, and this year in mid-spring made the same announcement, and in midsummer made a similar announcement, and in November made a similar announcement, and at the time of Christmas they made a similar announcement. And the Americans had promised to have all the corrupt U.S. statesmen to be in Tehran. They have failed, and they will fail in the future. That's been due to the people's faith in God, their faith in Hazrat Fatimah, their faith in their prophet, and their faith in their leader. They are united. They will support the leadership, and we will undoubtedly emerge victorious in the face of this issue. And people have certain problems in their daily lives, but we will overcome these difficulties, and the situation in this region is much better than what the Americans thought, and our status will be further promoted. We will overcome the difficulties. And my last word at this gathering is that our ideal today is the ideal that we pursued 40 years ago. If we replaced dictatorship with freedom. We replaced colonialism with national sovereignty. We replaced corruption with virtues, and we replaced discrimination with justice. We replaced tendencies to the east or the west with Iranian and Islamic identity. And we replace extravagance with moderation. Today we are pursuing the very same ideals, and we will undoubtedly emerge victorious. I thank the great nation of Iran for their presence and participation in the rallies today, despite the rainy weather and snowy weather, and this indicates of their allegiance with their leadership.
Tonight on The Communicators, from the State of the Net Conference in Washington, D.C., we'll